Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner Classic Legend Known Classic. This is episode number 2993 and Doubleshot number 2887. We're discussing the final, mostly put some of the remaining 18 issues of Rainbow Flame, but we're actually skipping over issues 194 and 199. Simple reason? Because I discussed those already. Let's first discuss the Nemesis feature, because basically 190, I've already discussed the Easter for already. Nemesis feature basically continues the whole thing with the fight between Nemesis and the Council. His friend Valerie, basically they wrap her character up in issue 182, and then they have in 183 basically a conclusion to the whole Nemesis feature, where Nemesis dies in that story, and no one sees him again until Nemesis the Imposter is released in 2002. That's kind of basically what happens there. Nemesis was a very interesting feature per se. And here's the weird thing. No trade paperback collections feature. None. Not even as many series in 2000s collected trade, which I think is kind of weird. I mean, he's a great character and all. Now, Valerie herself, she basically, by 192, she just stops appearing. Because the whole thing is trying to avenge her father, but, yeah. But what about the main feature of Brave and the Bold? The Batman team-ups. In 183, he teams up with the Riddler. Yep, in this sort of, this is a reluctant team-up, per se, given how thing is written here. Yeah, it's a very reluctant team-up. Yeah, and mostly they're taking this guy, this game of chess. And basically, by the end of the story, Riddler returns to prison. And by the way, the story is written by Don Carr, and the artwork is done by the late Carmine Infantino. Don Carr, this was the only issue he worked on Brave and the Bold. He also worked on which they did not collect. They did collect this issue already in issue 183. So, 185 they didn't, because basically that's features different character. So moving on. In issue 184, Batman teams up with the Earth 200s in some Christmas story. Yeah, and pretty much in a way we have this kind of in a way. This issue in particular. The whole thing with this issue is kind of how Batman and Catwoman of Earth 2 got married and they fell in love. It's basically Huntress telling Batman about this little story. It's a quite interesting story here. By the way, the writer is Mike W. Barr, artwork by Jim Aparo. Now, then we move on to 186, which features Robin, the story. Yes, Robin. Well, kind of, actually. He's not really there. It's basically Batman and Green Arrow taking on the Penguin. Yeah, despite being part of the main story, he's not actually in the book itself. Nope, not really. By the way, the artist in this issue for 185 is Adrian Gonzalez. Yeah, he basically worked on a lot of war comics. In case you're curious, though, was this the only Rainbow issue you worked on? Yes, but he did also work a couple issues of Batman. Issues 341 and 351. Moving on, 386, Batman has teamed up with Hawkman in this issue. This is written by Dan Muskin, art by Gary Cohn, art by Jim Aparo, who also is the inking for this issue. Mostly they take on the character known as the Fadeaway Man. Yes, basically a character who I think was the guy who was fighting Hawkman in his own book. Yeah, basically you can think of this issue as like a follow-up to the Hawkman feature from Detective Comics. Kind of in a way. But really good issue. I love it. Moving on to 187. We have, I think this was the final time the Metalman team up with Batman, where our character known as the Nameless gets killed off in this issue. Yes. Nameless was a robot who was the wife of someone named Tin. And sadly put, they kill off this robot in this very issue. And of course, one of the villains is the Gas Gang, a group of villains from the Metalman comic. So you could say this is like one final goodbye to the Metalman, written by Charles Brenner, art by Jim Aparo, obviously. Charles Boatnier. The guy didn't do very much at the DC Comics. He did some issues of cartoons. Issue Mystery in Space. You probably thinking, is this an Adam Strange story? No, he did not do an Adam Strange story. He did Finch, an issue of Action Comics. This was a story, he did the backup story of the book. Yeah, not a very well-known writer. Mm-hmm. And moving on to issue 188, Batman teams up with Rose and Thorn. Yeah, takes in Rose and Thorn to take on a group of neo-Nazis. Okay, interesting. You're thinking, that seems like a really cool feature. Yep. Which actually continues in the very next issue. Yes, it's a two-parter. Yep. Yeah, this is a character who debuted a book called Blitzkrieg. Yes, Blitzkrieg. A book about Nazis. Yes. Robert Kanigher basically wrote this book. Yep. And basically the only appearance the guy made was actually an issue of Last Days of the JSA. By the way, the book is written by Robert Kanigher. He wrote the story, so makes sense he would kill off the character. The issue 190. Now, I've discussed this opening story already, so I'm going to move on to we're talking the backup story already, so moving on here to 191. We have one final team up with the Joker to take on the Penguin. And also the fact that by the end, there's a funny bit at the end where basically he basically pulls a reference to Hawaii Five-0, where basically he doesn't say the words, but basically he's referencing Steve, where he says, "Book him, Dano." He's like, "I've always wanted to say that." I thought it was kind of funny. And this is by Dan Mushkin, Gary Cone, and Jim Aparo does one for this one. Moving on to issue 182, where this is a funny cover for this one. This is a job for Superboy. Yeah, Superboy is here. Yeah, a little bit of time travel here. Taking on a villain named IQ. Which it is so funny. The fact that basically that this just happened to be this way. Yeah, I love it, time trips, but kind of a really funny issue. I've already discussed issue 193 already. Which is by Kerry Berkey, who's writing the story somewhere. Next we have is Batman team with the Flash taking on the Rainbow Raider, along with Dr. Double X, who is an old school Batman villain. Like, really old school. This guy is debut just prior to, like, basically the 60s. Like, he appeared in technically 2 issues of Detective. And that was prior to this very issue. So his previous appearance was a Detective in, of course, issue of World's Finest. The guy didn't do very much at all. Yeah, it was announced in this very issue that 200 would be the final issue of the series. This was collected in Tales Batman by Carmen Fantino. Which, I think it did say it was... Yeah, let's skip this one. Alright. So, 185, Batman teams up with Andrew Bennett, the star of I, Vampire. And this story feels like basically something that... Well, it just... Batman just crossed over with I, Vampire for an issue. And here's a strange fun fact. This would be, I think, like the only time that Batman ever met Andrew Bennett pre-Flashpoint. Yeah. I find that interesting that this is the only time he's ever met him. He never met him in House Mystery. But he's a really cool character. Basically, he spends a lot of time fighting his own lover, Mary Queen of the Blood. Yeah, a woman he loves. And she's basically the main antagonist of a series. And it's written by Mike Barr, art by Jim Harrow. Now, the thing is, Andrew was a creation of Jay Matias and Tom Sutton. Moving on to 196, we have Batman team up with Ragman. It, of course, book is written by Robert Kanigher. This would be also, in this very issue here, with the final appearance of Betty Berg. Ragman's pre-Flashpoint girlfriend. This would be her final appearance. This would also technically be the return of Ragman. First time since his own solo book got canceled. Yes, believe it or not, the pre-Flashpoint Ragman, this would technically be, in a way, this would be like a fall appearance from his appearance from Batman Family number 20. Yeah, and this would be like one of the last times we saw Ragman prior to the Flash reboot. Alright, moving on to 187. This one basically is done by Alan Bennett. This one is... Well, this is basically about... This is basically of how Batman and Catwoman... This is basically something people want to see in present day, but some idiots DC Comics don't want to see this nowadays. And that's Batman and Catwoman getting married. Something people at DC got cold feet at several years ago. And this would be a little fun fact about this story here. This will be the final appearance of the Earth 2 Scarecrow. Yeah, the very Scarecrow who basically made his debut in World's Finest number 3. That one. And we also had the final appearance of the Earth 2 Batwoman? Yes. Because this was a return for the character. And of course we would see like... This was supposed to be a final appearance of the Earth 2 Linda Page, who was a girlfriend of Bruce Wayne's. Yeah, this is basically leads into, well... It's a very interesting story here, and probably by far one of the best issues of the series. Issue 198, this is a very interesting one. Batman teams up with a member of the Legion of Superheroes, the Karate Kid. I think his organization called Black Heart. Yeah. One of his members, Pulsar, gets killed off in this issue. Yeah, this was basically... Well... You could think of this issue as basically like an epilogue to the short-lived Karate Kid series. Because at one point Karate Kid was stuck in present day. So he got a solo title. This is basically like a loose replica. Skip it 199 because it's discussed already. Now, next moving on to the final issue of The Brave and the Bold, Volume 1. Yeah, this story here would feature, get this, excuse me. you were thinking, okay, so what team up would DC say for the last? What last team up would they have for the Batman team-ups? Or Batman of Earth 1 teams up with Batman of Earth 2. And this would be also appearance by a guy called Brimstone in his sole appearance he ever made. The artwork is done by Dave Gibbons. For some reason, like, no, Brimstone, this was, of course, the Earth 2 version of the character. Yeah. The Earth 1 version, if I can find him here. Huh. He's just some guy, and then we have the, get this, this book would also feature the final appearance of the Earth 2 Joker. Yeah. Doesn't die in this issue, but this will feature his, like, last appearance. Yep. Any members of the JSA make guest appearances. Basically, the Flash of Earth 1, Earth 2. Basically, Alan Scott and Hal Jordan, along with Barry Allen and Jay Garrick, make a quick cameo appearance. And then basically, Batmite has a funny story. He complains to the late Lean Ween about not featuring the book, and then the final story is basically a preview of Batman and the Outsiders. Yeah. But all in all, this book was fantastic. I give the final issues of Brave and the Bold, Volume 1, issues number 183 to 193, 195 to 198, and 200, a 10 out of 10. Final thoughts on Brave and Bold, Volume 1. This book was absolutely amazing. Yes, it had a weird start to it by being an anthology book. For the first 24 issues, featured people like Viking Prince. Trying to think. There was a knight in the book. Not Shiny Knight, was a different knight. Where he was a distant relative of Hawkman. Yeah, I thought this was kind of weird. And this would happen for the first, 2 years of the comic. There was also the Golden Gladiator, who he was featured in the book for a little while. He was basically just a Roman story. He featured in the book for mostly the first 5 out of 6 issues. He would miss issue 5. Oh yeah, it's called. We also have a Robin Hood feature in the book. Oh, the other character was a Silent Knight. Silent Knight. I think this guy was a. Yeah, this guy here. They later retconned him to be a distant relative of Hawkman. Yeah, and also apparently, well, we'll get to that one later, but yeah, the whole thing of I thought this was very interesting, and then this will go on for about 2 years, and then then we have the original Suicide Squad, not the John Armstrong version, the World War II version of the group. Which they would exist for issues 25 27, and then basically, in a way, the book became a tryout book. Yes, this will last for a little while, basically debuting the Suicide Squad, the JLA, Cave Carson, Earth 1 Hawkman. Of course, they brought back the Suicide Squad for a few issues. And Cave Carson. They basically had the whole strange sports stuff. The stuff with there was And then basically issue 50 became a team-up book. It became a team-up book where basically each team between Green Arrow and Martian Manhunter. And it became a Batman team-up book into issue 74. And that's basically kind of... And this book also featured like some other team-ups. They would feature a couple more tryouts per se in this book. Like, they have the early appearance of the Teen Titans, and of course, Metamorpho. Yep. And of course, they also have where in issue 61 they would have a team up between Starman and Black Canary, which of course in I think it was explained Starman that after these two appearances, well, it was explained Starman that after these two team-ups, like, Black Canary, the original one, and Ted Knight would sleep together, and there was a PI who basically blackmailed them over that, though they got over it anyway, so it would just be healing. Basically, the way it's described, it was just a heat of the moment, and they never had feelings for each other, just a heat of the moment, they just happened to do it. Heck, even Spectre himself would have some stories in the book. But I love the fact that basically they would have the whole team aspect of the book, which would last for quite a while. Yeah, and they would have this thing for Earth 1 Wildcat, where he only appeared in Brave and the Bold. He never appeared outside of any comic book. You're thinking, really? Yeah, really. Though he did make a one appearance in Supergirl in some flashback. And appeared in issue Super Team Family, probably in a reprint. Yeah. But, yeah, I finally got done Brave and Bold Volume 1. Yep, it's all done. Now, before I move on to Volume 3, I've already discussed Volume 2 already. Next main bold thing to discuss will be Flash and Green Lantern, Fast Friends, that mini-series. And then move on to Volume 3, and that'll be done with Brave and Bold. Next up, basically, is Ragman, Volume 2. This is written by Robert Kanigher, who wrote this book. I think it was Robert Kanigher. Oh, excuse me, is Robert Lauren Fleming and Keith Giffen. This book mostly was a limited series. Now, this would feature also now, the thing is, Betty Borg, who in pre-crisis was Roy Raymond's girlfriend, here they're just friends. And simply put, this was the first appearance of the rebooted version of Ragman. Yeah. So basically this is a limit. Unlike the first one, which was an ongoing series, this was a limited series. Maybe because DC didn't trust basically this character to have an ongoing again, because maybe someone like, yeah, he had an ongoing before, let's make it limited. So you have like a rebooted version, basically origin story for the character. But we do have Pat Broderick and Keith Giffen doing the artwork here. Keith Giffen also be co-writing doing here. Basically, in a way, they do bring in they do bring in characters from the original book, just rebooted version of them. Like Rabbi Lawrence, who I think was featured in the original. I don't think he was featured in the original book. No, I think he was original in this book. He was featured just in this book in particular, where he was a supporting character in this book until like the final issue where he would die. Betty Borg, who was just a friend of Ragman's, not dating him. She would feature in all the issues of this book, plus an issue of Ragman one shot and an issue Legends of the Dark Knight, which features Batman team with Ragman. Which basically kind of has similar stories to the original one, retold in modern day. Also, like in the case of pre-Flashpoint, pre-Crisis, Gary Reagan was in fact basically the father of the original Ragman, and yeah, he was Ragman. Here they retcon he actually was Ragman. Yeah. And you probably think, did the original one die in the debut issue? He did. It's like they play similar beats to the original book per se, but doing it in 90s style. That's kind of what this book is, but it's really good. I do recommend checking it out. Book is fantastic. Of course, also Ragman's taking some 90s criminals in Gotham City, and unlike the first book, which featured no guest stars from outside characters, in this one he actually meets Batman. Yes, he meets Batman. Something he did not do in the original book until he met Batman until after his book ended. And then basically, like, they have this character called Golem, which they have supposedly destroyed, but then he comes back. But he comes back in a later book, per se. And by the final issue, the rabbi himself dies. And I do appreciate that DC was basically willing to have Batman appear in the book. By the way, in the final issue, the book had 3 artists. You had the first 20 issues in 2024 done by Romeo Tagawa, Pat Broderick, just page 22, and Keith Giffen does pretty much the rest. But I do gotta admit, basically, the book was probably a little better than the original book. The original book was just 5 issues, just basically like, oh, feature Gotham City. And I'm like, wait, you're in Gotham City and you don't feature Batman in the book? And my guess is someone DC must realize, though, hey, let's tell the story, let's reboot this book and just actually feature Batman in the book because he's in Gotham City. And plus, of course, Batman's high profile at this point in time, so of course he would. Yep. Good book overall. And I get the book roughly a 9 out of 10. Now you would think, oh, because I've already reviewed Volume 3 ready for Ragman, I already did Volume 1 in this book, am I done? No. There is actually one more mini-series for him, plus a couple one-shots, and that's it for the character. I think it's like one-shot. Yeah, next to discuss for Ragman would be Ragman, Cry of the Dead, which came out 2 years after this book came out. Yep. And then after that, it'll be a Ragman one-shot, and that's it for the character. So someone might be asking, what's going to place Ragman when this finishes up? Because basically, got one mini-series and one shot left. What could possibly replace it? The plan is to place with Joker. Yeah, as the last of the spin-off, the last of the books, that probably the Batman line of books that are left to go. Yep. Joker's next after Ragman's finished up. Okay, so yeah, let's pick up a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and this like button. Well, I'm resting my voice for a bit. Watch a couple episodes of Jaspion and review them, and maybe do a comic corner. Okay, see you. Bye.